Hello and welcome everybody to today's webinar, as usually hosted by the Open Telecom Cloud community. Today we have two guests together with us, or better said, even three guests. We have here Nasuni and also EBCONT, and the topic of today will be Nasuni on Open Telecom Cloud managed by EBCONT. So you see, pretty interesting topic. With this, I will lead over to our partner manager, Jona, for the introduction of the two partners, Nasuni and EBCONT. Thank you a lot for having you here, and let's start the webinar. Jona.
Yeah, thank you, Stefan. Hopefully this introduction will be cool as well. So, all right. Yeah, hello again. Let me say it this way. A few months ago, we already had our Open Telecom Cloud Circle partner Bench End here in our community webinar, who were presenting their database or benchmark as a service solution hosted on Open Telecom Cloud. My name is Jonah. I'm a partner manager in our Circle partner management team. Today we have Nasuni and EBCONT, which are quite new or fresh partners in our Circle. And yeah, really looking forward because the solution is pretty nice, pretty well and well known, I believe. And together with EBCONT, our Austrian friends, let me say it this way, we have a partner who will do that as a managed service, which is even better. So yeah, if there are any questions regarding our partner program or any other stuff you want to know, just get in touch. And yeah, wishing us all lots of fun in our today's webinar. And with this, up to you, Christoph. Stage is yours.
Thanks, Jona. Hi, everybody. Thanks for joining. Thanks for having me. My name is Christoph Ertl. I'm the solution architect at Nasuni, responsible for the DACH region. I joined Nasuni a little bit more than 2 years ago after 15 years working at NetApp as pre-sales, interestingly, for Deutsche Telekom and T-Systems. So at the new company, I'm happy to be back in touch with Magenta again. As Jona already mentioned, we are presenting the joint solution from EBCONT and Nasuni with Open Telecom Cloud Backend for a managed hybrid cloud storage solution. What we're going to hear in the next 55 minutes is 3 parts. I'm going to tell you a little bit about Nasuni, the technical architecture, the use cases for about 20 minutes. Then Wolfgang takes over for another 20 minutes worth of EBCONT information and information about the product, and most importantly, a product demo. And after that, we're going to have Q&A. So if you have any questions, put them in the chat. We're going to get to them later on. So what does Nasuni do? Nasuni is all about unstructured file data. So basically everything that a Windows file server does today. You might think, well, why do I need a Windows file server today? Everything has moved to Office 365. Everything's in OneDrive and Teams. Yes, that's true. But there is a lot of data left that is not suitable for SharePoint, or some customers just do not want to put any data in SharePoint. And to be honest, SharePoint is very good, and I really love to use it for everything that's Office data. Co-authoring is just a great functionality. But for a lot of other file types, SharePoint is just by far not perfectly usable than for other data. And on top of that, SharePoint is very expensive when you exceed the capacity that you're given from Microsoft per user. That's 10 gigabyte for 1,000 people. That's 10 terabyte of SharePoint capacity. And we all know 10 terabyte is nothing when it comes to file service data. And SharePoint is also not very brilliant when you need performance at the edge. And there you need a file server, especially for certain applications that have been built to speak with a CIFS share. So we have very prominent customers, as you can see on the slide. Because of the fact that this session is recorded, we cannot put all our customer logos on there. So there's a lot unmentioned there, especially some German customers do not really like to be put on slides when there's recording done. So I'll dive into some of the use cases that our customers do with Nasuni, for example, in the oil and gas space, where our customers send ships across the sea to look for oil. They have ultrasound sensors on those ships, and huge amounts of data, petabytes of data are collected, and they need to be moved off of the ships in order to be analyzed centrally. So the only thing that can really do that, and that's why we have a very high market share in that area, is to do it with Nasuni, because whenever our file server comes online, it transfers the data to the central point. We're going to discuss the architecture a little bit later, but just to give you a little bit of insight on where Nasuni really shines. So data is collected on ships, huge amounts of data, and whenever those ships get a little bit of internet connection, the ships start uploading data to a central location, and every piece of data that has been uploaded already can be analyzed centrally. And the most critical thing for an oil company is time to oil, and that can be minimized using Nasuni. We also have sports use cases where video footage is collected all over the world from players, from matches, in order to analyze teams, analyze tactics, analyze individuals, even to see how their technique evolves, their healing process possibly evolves, and they even do predictive medical treatment based on video data. And again, you need to be able to upload data quickly into a central locations where doctors and other medicinal people can then analyze the data and act accordingly. And maybe a little bit closer to where you act in AEC and manufacturing. It is very common that companies work together with third party and data needs to be exchanged. So that's not an easy thing to do with a traditional file server, but you still need a traditional file server for the applications that you use. So 3D applications want file servers, and external sharing is something that cannot be done very well with file servers. So you need a solution just like Nasuni to exactly do that. And that's why on this slide you see a lot of logos. I said there's other German logos that cannot be shown here. For example, one very well-known German competitor of Under Armour, for example, is one of our customers. We have Drechselmeier on the top left-hand side on the slide, and there's other German manufacturing customers as well in our portfolio. So altogether, we almost have 1,000 customers and manage hundreds of petabytes with a total of more than 15,000 file servers. Our customers love us, what we can see in the NPS score of 89. We are very high on Gartner Peer Insights. And Gartner even recognized our sector lately as a real thing to have a closer look on, and they created the hybrid cloud storage quadrant. So yeah, just lately Gartner really realized that hybrid cloud storage is a thing. And in terms of cloud backend, Nasuni does not work only with Open Telecom Cloud, obviously, but with other clouds as well. But in this session, we're only going to speak about the Open Telecom Cloud integration. So when we're looking at files, they tend to explode. Capacity tends to explode. I already mentioned the oil and gas workload where lots of data is created, but also in the automotive space, a lot of sensor data is created. In the security space, you might think about cameras creating lots of video footage and so forth. And very often that data needs to be centralized somewhere in order to be analyzed. Data centers are very complex and costly. So a lot of people that we speak to want to reduce the amount of infrastructure they have on premise and move most of the stuff to the cloud. But again, for a file service, you need something close to the users. Otherwise, applications don't work very well. And that's why when Nasuni comes in, and we're going to have a look at the caching architecture that we use a little later. Workforces tend to be distributed, so people want to work from home, people want to work from wherever, and they want to have VPN-less access to their data. Again, something that traditional file servers don't do very well. Nasuni can do that. And on top of that, there's very aggressive security threats. So ransomware is one of the biggest threats. The question is not if you're struck by a ransomware attack, the question is just when. And you need to make sure that you're well prepared whenever that attack strikes. So what you want from your hybrid cloud storage is effortless scalability. So looking at the ships, companies want to add more and more ships. Companies want to add more and more analysts in the backend, and everybody must have the same access, the same performance. So you want to add new file servers easily. You want to add new files easily. You do not want to be restrained by any limits in terms of file size or file service size, amount of files, users, or locations. You want to have built-in security, so rapid ransomware recovery, but you also do not want to take care of your backup yourself. So it's cumbersome to create a backup architecture for file services. Nasuni has that integrated. It's cumbersome to create a disaster recovery solution for file services. Nasuni has that integrated. We have even an antivirus scanner integrated into the solution. So once you decide for Nasuni, everything around file services is taken care of, plus some very interesting extras. And you want to have fast edge performance. I mentioned that a lot. So where your users are, there you want to have your file server. Otherwise, users are not very happy with performance. So definitely there's other solutions on the market that look like they could do what you ask them for, but very often they are just a transformation of what is already done on premises into the cloud. So like a NetApp, for example, I've worked 15 years there, but all they did with their cloud solution is just use their software and run it on virtual infrastructure. That means all the limits you had on premise, you take them with you in the cloud. And the cloud even adds more limits because, especially for NetApp, you do not have NVRAM in the public cloud. Therefore, you need to circumvent that, and you pay that for with performance. So, and that's the same for all the other solutions. So they are not built for the cloud. They are just transformed to work in the cloud. And on top of that, none of those have a backup or disaster recovery solution integrated in the best possible way designed for the cloud. So yeah, you need to be able to scale, you need file security, you need edge performance, and a lot of those solutions just don't give you what you really want in that area. So the best thing would be, in terms of data security, to leverage what's there already in the cloud, which is in object storage. You can create an object storage as secure, as safe as you want it. It's a very affordable type of storage. So half a cent per gigabyte per month is a bargain compared to what you pay for infrastructure on premise. And you can make it very, very secure. So 3 copies in 3 different data centers in a region, plus everything else that you can put in the backend of that cloud storage. So you can take another backup of your cloud, or you can mirror the object storage into a different cloud or into a different region. So you can do a lot in order to protect your data, and Nasuni uses that object store to store all your data. And in order to provide fast access to your data, we use file servers, Linux-based appliances that give you all the local performance, that give you all the local security, because you do not want to learn about the ransomware attack after the fact. You want to learn about the ransomware attack as quickly as possible. And you need to have all the control over the file server in order to react on other threats as quickly as possible. So really, you want to separate the storage of the data from the presentation of the data, and that's what we and also Gartner calls hybrid cloud storage. So what the Nasuni solution does is put all those pieces together and offer it to our customers. So we provide effortless scalability in terms of capacity. So no further capacity management of file servers anymore. So that's just gone. Once you're on Nasuni, you can scale your file service volume as you wish. You can also scale the number of file servers you provide or you roll out very freely. So no limit there. We have data security built in, ransomware protection, backup, disaster recovery, antivirus protection, and so forth. And we provide fast edge performance for all the users that sit on premise. And the most important thing is no changes to apps or workflows. So SMP protocol still there. All the integrations, just like a Windows file server, DFS namespaces, and so forth. Everything is there and can be leveraged by you. And on top of all that, you consolidate your data into a central location. So you have all your data in the same place, so you can go ahead and use that data and analyze it with data intelligence and AI functionality in the future. So a little bit more about the architecture. We already spoke about the object storage, safe, secure, affordable, and so forth. No need there. Nasuni's IP is the global file system that we create, and we use that global file system and shove it in between the objects and the files. So with a Nasuni solution, not every file is just put in the object store as an object, but we put a global file system in between, and what we store in the object store is the representation of the file system. That gives us a lot of extras, a lot of benefits, namely we can compress data. So 30 to 40% of capacity saving is just normal. We can do snapshots in our global file system, which count as backups, and we can do them forever. There's no limits on how many of them you can take or how long you can keep them. Nasuni has existed for 15 years, and we have customers from the first years that have never deleted a snapshot. So they have hundreds of thousands of snapshots in their system, and yeah, no problem with that. We can build our ransomware protection, our ransomware detection into the file system. And we also have the collaboration across sites. I attach not just one file server to the same data source system built into our file system. So the easiest architecture of a Nasuni solution is you have one bucket in the cloud and you have one file server somewhere on premise. The bucket holds all your data. So let's say you have a 100 terabyte file server, Windows file server today, and you move to Nasuni. What you need is a 100 terabyte Nasuni license. This file server deployed in VMware, Hyper-V, or Nutanix, and you shove the 100 terabyte into that file server. We learned 30 to 40% of the data can be compressed, so 60 terabyte of object storage needed here. And you need about 2 to 5 terabyte of SSD cache on premises in order for the file server to work. And then you get all those beauties. It looks like a Windows file server. It integrates into the Explorer. We can also integrate the snapshots into the previous versions in the Microsoft Explorer. We use NTFS ACLs, no change in authorization. DFS namespaces can be integrated, and we offer not just the CIFS protocol, but NFS, FTP, HTTPS, and S3 on top of that. You can obviously scale out that solution and have a bucket for every file server. That's probably close to how your environment looks today. But if you use DFS replication today, then you're looking at more such an architecture where you attach multiple file servers to the same bucket, and that's exactly what Wolfgang's going to show you later, how that works then. How you attach multiple file servers to the same data source and present the same data at multiple locations and handle the access and conflict management and so forth. We also have an orchestration center in place that handles licensing for us, that handles global locking for us and for you especially. And that's a free of charge service that we present to you. So no need for you to run the orchestration center yourself. It's just a service that the Nasuni provides to you, and that orchestration center can be used to exchange data between file servers. So the orchestration center is informed about every file that is opened somewhere on one of the file servers, and whenever the file is checked back in, so the lock is given back, orchestration center knows in which file server's cache the latest version of a file lies. So when a different user in a different location wants to access that file, we can make sure that they always get the latest version of a document. And that's how we implement file-based workflows around the world. We have customers from the sports apparel manufacturing vertical, and they design clothes in the US or in Germany and move over the designs to China for production, and that goes in minutes. So that's how our customers use the architecture. And the same goes with Adobe Suite collaboration. The same goes with 3D construction and so forth. So very easy way to know where the latest version of the files is, and Nasuni takes care that the latest version is always available at the location where you need it. On top of that, we lately added some more intelligence to the orchestration center, so you can get very detailed insights into what's happening with your data. So which user uses which data, which volumes or which folders tend to grow the most, in which folders is the most capacity, which folders are not accessed at all and can be deleted maybe or moved somewhere else. So very detailed insight into what happens to your file system. And on top of that, that's what Wolfgang's gonna show you in a minute. The management console is a central console for managing all the file servers. So whenever you want to create a new share, you do not interact with the individual element managers of the file servers, but you use a central management console for that. As I said, you're going to see it in a minute. The management console also has a REST API, so you can integrate that into overarching orchestration in order to run the Nasuni file servers. So with that, I'd like to hand over to Wolfgang and ask him to kindly tell us about EBCONT and show us a demo.
Yes, thank you, Christoph. So, welcome everybody. I'm glad to be here and pleasure to have the opportunity to show you something about the Nasuni EBCONT and Open Telecom Cloud Managed Service. My name is Wolfgang Weissinger. I work for EBCONT. EBCONT is an IT company headquartered in Vienna, Austria, and I work there since about 3 years, and mainly in the fields of cloud engineering, where I usually use Microsoft Azure or Open Telecom Cloud. Jona usually presents me as one of these Open Telecom Cloud fanboys, and yes, that's true, I really am. So I'm really excited about what Telecom provides to us in sovereign cloud from Europe for Europe, and really enjoy to use it in my daily work. Besides cloud engineering, I also have a big footprint in zero trust network architecture, supporting customers, getting this implemented into their company. And yeah, that's what I do. And now I want to show you what EBCON does. We are an IT company from Austria, as mentioned, with more than 20 years of experience, and we are doing nearly everything which is related to IT. And we have these 4 sectors we're working in. At the top left, we have EBCONT Enterprise, where our software engineers are sitting in and doing software for our customers, mainly with Java and C#, but all the other common programming languages are used as well, and also mobile apps, of course. At the top right, you see EBCON Pro Consult, where our project management resides, but also data integration, business analytics, everything related to data. And our testing engineers are also part of EBCON Pro Consult. At the bottom right, you have EBCON Communications. That's where our creative minds are sitting in. So they are doing prototyping, marketing, but mainly UX and UI design. And at the bottom left, you have EBCON Operation. That's where I am from. We are doing mainly security and infrastructure. So we're providing CM SOC services and managing infrastructure for our customers, mainly with a cloud focus. And yeah, all the thrilling challenges we're having in operations, I'm part of. You see, we have our head office in Vienna, as mentioned before, but we have multiple other locations in Austria as well. Also in Germany, we have actually 3 locations. So it's only mentioned Frankfurt and Saarbrücken, but since a couple of weeks, we also have a location in Hamburg as well, and also 2 in the United States with New York and Philadelphia. As mentioned, more than 20 years of experience and 100% private cooperation. So I will just give you a feeling about EBCON, the numbers I call it. So at the top right, you see our headquarters in the Millennium Tower in Vienna. We have around 650 employees with a revenue of 80 million euro, 130 customers from various sectors. So we have a big footprint in the public sector, but also work with enterprise and well-known companies like Red Bull. And we have around 20 partners. 2 of them you are aware of. That's the Open Telecom Cloud, but also Nasuni. Besides that, we have partnerships with many other vendors as well. Here it's just our approach, how we work. I don't want to go deep dive into this slide because we're probably more interested in seeing a live demo for Nasuni EBCON service. So I will just skip this here and you can look it up later in the recording. So I will start with the live demo right now, just to give you a short introduction how our test lab looks like. So we have the Nasuni management console, which is the orchestration center. And we have two file servers, one located in Vienna and the other one located in Frankfurt. And they are both managed by the Nasuni management console. And we will show how you can connect these two file shares and also do some other stuff, which is really thrilling doing with Nasuni. Here I'm in the Nasuni management console. That's how it looks when you log in. And the first thing I want to show you is you see that you have a lot of dashboards and information about the files laying in your file on your file shares. The first thing I want to do right now is to create another file share to show you the opportunities you're having creating a file share. So I click on volume here, click on create volume, and now it's asking me a couple of settings I have to answer. So I will decide to create a file share at the Vienna location, asking me for a protocol. So you can choose between CIFS, which means SMB, or NFS. So we assume we are in a Windows environment, as most companies are. So I choose CIFS here. Provide a name, already have one here. So that's the name of the file share. And now I have to choose the cloud provider where this bucket is created and the files are stored. So you see there are only two options here with Amazon S3 and Microsoft Azure. And some of you may think, hey, you said that's an Open Telecom Cloud webinar, and you said you're using Open Telecom Cloud. Why it's not available? The reason is many of you may aware that Open Telecom Cloud is 100% compatible to S3. So that's why we can use the Amazon S3 connector here to connect to the Open Telecom Cloud. So I will choose Amazon S3 here. Then it asks me for the credentials to create such a bucket. I've configured them before. So you see I've created Open Telecom Cloud credentials. And for the region, I just choose other. So that means it's just S3 compatible and not that I'm creating it in the S3. And I will show you later that it was really created within Open Telecom Cloud. Now it's asking me to create or provide keys. These are used for encryption, and it will just create new ones as this is best practice. And I can also provide a name for these keys. I think it's also good practice to use the provided name, which is the same name as the file share. Can configure a quota here, but I will leave it empty so I have unlimited capacity. Then I can use a setting to decide if I want to have access to authenticated users only, or if it's publicly available. I will stay with authenticated access. And permission policy. So I can choose between exclusive and compatible mode for NTFS. I will stay with exclusive mode because we're assuming we're in a Windows environment, so we don't have an opportunity to use compatible mode, which is necessary if you want to use NFS in parallel. And case sensitivity, yeah, that also doesn't make any sense in a Windows environment. Case sensitivity would make sense if you use NFS. So I will skip this option here. So I'm already done. I just have to create the volume, click on create volume. And yeah, actually that's it. It's now creating this volume. So it's creating the bucket and everything. It will take a couple of seconds. In the meantime, I want to show you something else because, okay, it's already finished. So you see, that's really fast. The volume is already created. So the next thing I want to show you is how you can connect file shares. So I have this location in Vienna. I have the other location in Frankfurt. I want to use the same file share in both locations. How will that look like? So I show you in the beginning. If I go to Vienna, I have right now 3 file shares. The one I want to connect right now, which is called connect volume, the one we've created a couple of seconds ago, and the other one I want to show you in a couple of minutes to get an idea about the options of the Frankfurt location. I just have this one because it's not connected so far. So I want to connect. So just click on volumes again and click on connect volume here. And now you see that's the volumes I can connect. This one I've already connected, so it's available in Frankfurt and in Vienna at the same time with the same bucket backend, and I will do the same for the connect volume as well. So I just click on edit connections here. I choose Frankfurt here because I only have 2 filers in my environment. And now it's asking me to provide information if I want to have different settings for the Frankfurt location, or if everything should be inherited from the Vienna location. I think it's also fine to use the same settings for Frankfurt as for Vienna. So I will just click on Save Connections. And yeah, you see it's now made, and also will take a couple of seconds. In the meantime, I will show you something else. So as already mentioned, I've provided 2 file shares, and here I have the OTC main in Vienna, and I will now open the same share in Frankfurt as well. Put it to the right. So Vienna in the left, Frankfurt in the right. You see they are the same data because it's the same file share. It's just available via 2 locations. The first thing I want to show you here is a global file log. So that means if somebody is opening a document, let's say in Vienna, it's automatically locked in Frankfurt, so people cannot create merge conflicts where both people write to the same file at the same time, which usually an Office document can't handle. So if I open it here, so it's just in CV, perfect, it's open. And now I go to Frankfurt, go to the same folder and open the same file. And you see, okay, I can only open a read-only copy. So I avoid that the guy from Frankfurt is writing to the same file as I do, to avoid any conflicts and make this file unusable. So in the meantime, I assume the connect volume was already finished. That's true. So I will just go back to the Vienna branch and now to Frankfurt. And you see, it's here. The same volume as in Vienna is now available in Frankfurt. And it took us around a minute to set this up. Awesome. So next thing I want to show you is about file deletion. So I have this folder here with a lot of files in it. Let's measure it. We have around 6 GB of data. And somebody deletes these files. Not on purpose, it was by mistake. And now business comes to us and say, oh my God, this folder was deleted. It's very important. We have to restore it. And it must be fast. We really need this folder. So what can we do? We go to the Nasuni management console, still click on volumes and go to the file browser. I select here the file share, OTC main in that case. It's already using the Vienna one, and that's I've deleted in Frankfurt, that's the reason. So you see, it's deleted here. That's the current version of my file share. And what I will do right now is I will restore the file. So I have here the opportunity to select the snapshot where this is still available. So going to this one, and you see there this folder is back up. Just go into this and you see all the files are there. And what I will do right now is I just select this folder and click on restore folder. Now it's asking me, hey, if there is do you want to have it at the same destination as before, or do you want a different one? So we will keep it at the same destination. It's also asking me if there are any files in the meantime created with the same name, what should we do? So it would create the existing one as a backup, so you don't lose any data. And it's the same for directories as well. So I'm fine with these settings here. I just click on restore folder. So it's saying successfully started. It will take a couple of seconds. In the meantime, I go to the Frankfurt one and open this one. So it's already finished. You see restore is finished, which means if I click on refresh here, it should pop up, and that's it. You see, 6 GB of data were restored within a couple of seconds. NetApp cannot provide this. Awesome. So, and you'd maybe think, hey, yeah, okay, this guy has a 10 gigabit line between the servers. No, that's not true. It's just because this global file system is in between, which works with metadata mainly. So that's the reason why this is so fast. Christoph explained it to you before. So next one Christoph also mentioned is file versioning. So I can restore files from these snapshots, but what if I want to give the user the opportunity to restore files from a previous version without giving them access to the Nasuni management console? I can do that as well. So I just go to the OTC main share, click on volume, click on share, select this one, and here I can enable previous versions. I've already done. And how does it look in the file service? I go to the volume here in Vienna, click on the right, properties of the folder, and here is this tab for previous versions. And perfect. You see, all these previous versions are available for the users, so they can restore them as they like. And you can do this setting for every share on their own. So you can allow it for Vienna, but don't allow it for Frankfurt. That's really awesome. Okay, so we've created a file share, if you remember at the beginning. This one, demo creation, it was created, let's say 2 or 3 minutes ago. And now I will just show you what Nasuni does in the backend. So it already created a snapshot policy for this. You see the demo creation has a retention that all snapshots are saved and stored and kept. And I have the opportunity to change that. So I can say, just keep a number of snapshots, or I can also say, just give me the settings for years, months, and days, so I can decide how many snapshots for which time frame I want to keep. And I can also make snapshots available via the file system. I think there was a question similar to this in the chat already. So that's also an opportunity, but without this option, the users don't have access to the snapshots. And I can also provide a snapshot schedule here. So you see, for the demo creation, the default setting is that the snapshot is created once every hour, but you can change that value. You can put the numbers up, you can put it down. So up to 24 hours. And if you connect volumes, you have the opportunity to select, it's time, sorry. So you can say, I want snapshot every 5 minutes. That's the setting, the automatic setting if you connect file shares together. Or you can even say 1 minute, 1 minute per file share, which means if somebody fails, you just lose 1 minute of work. And for example, I've set this up for this file share with 1 minute, but I've turned on global file acceleration. And you probably wonder, what's that? So that means Nasuni decides when a snapshot has to be made to give you the best experience with snapshot creation. So you don't have to handle that by yourself. Really helpful. And Christoph also mentioned about ransomware attacks. You can also enable ransomware protection here. So it was already enabled for this OTC main, which I showed you before, but now we can create it, we can enable it for our file share here. So we have 2 opportunities. We just want detection of ransomware, but don't want to have any countermeasures. So we just put on detection, which means you can integrate that to your CM and take actions from there. You can integrate it to Azure Sentinel and so on. And then you do the actions there. Or you say, okay, Nasuni, please do that for me. I don't have Azure Sentinel. So I turn it on, which means it just blocks the IP address of the attacker where the ransomware is running from. And you also have the opportunity to set the level where detection and mitigation starts to work. So actually, that's it. I've targeted 2 switches, and now I've protected from ransomware. Took me 10 seconds. Okay. So that's where the points I wanted to show to you. And last thing I want to show you is that this is really creating a bucket in the Open Telecom Cloud. So I go to Open Telecom Cloud to my tenant here, just logging in. Yeah, so I'm in my Open Telecom Cloud tenant. I go to Object Storage Service here. And you see I have 3 buckets because if you remember, I have 3 file shares. I have the Connect file share, I have the OTC main file share, and I have the demo creation file share. This one is what we created today, and the other one were available in the past already. And you see the creation took less than a megabyte because we don't have any data in it. And the other one with the lot of data in it, it took 20 gigabyte. But remember, I've set it to took a snapshot every minute, and that's for days. And we have around 7-8 gigabytes of data in this file share. So it means I have a retention of 1 minute per snapshot, which means I can restore any time of the files and still don't have 20 gigabytes of data consumed. And also, if you do that by yourself, you have to provide much more of storage because you need a backup, a geolocation backup. OTC is handling this for us. So it means this object storage is already backed up by Open Telecom Cloud. We don't have to care about. We just have to pay for 20 gigabyte. And if you do the same on premise, you have a minimum of 50 gigabyte to use. So that was the live demo. You're now wondering, hey, why is this guy from epcon showing this to us? Because we are offering this as a service, as a managed service. So you can decide if you don't want to do this by yourself, so you want give us the opportunity to do this in your name, we can do it. We can provide a proof of value or a proof of concept that you can see that Nasuni works in your environment, that it fits your use cases. We can do the whole integration for you, but we can also take full responsibility for the service and manage everything you need for file services. And you saw the implementation and integration and configuration, all that kind of work is really easy to do. So a proof of value, we can do it in less than a day. And I hope you enjoyed this. And yeah, now we are open for any questions.
So thank you a lot, Wolfgang. Thank you a lot also, Christoph, for having you here for this great presentation. And as you already introduced here, now we come to our last point for the Q&A session. I already see a few questions in the chat. Let's start maybe with the very first one, which is the following. How are snapshots presented within the NFS protocol?
Yeah, let me take this one, Alejandro. Great question, by the way. So you have 2 options. You can enable a .snapshot directory within the file share itself, so people see the backups or the snapshots and the live data in the same share. Or you can just create another share, sharing only the .snapshot directory, so that you can only show the .snapshot or the snapshots when a user needs it, or you can just separate live data from snapshot data for reasons.
I hope this answered your question, Alejandro. And then the second question also from him is, what is the impact of enabling ransomware protection? So are there any performance degradations or impacts you need to take with this?
So again, I'd like to take that. Another good question. So the first impact is you need to have the license for it. So ransomware is ransomware protection or ransomware detection, better said, is hidden behind a separate license, and the impact on performance is minimal. So users don't see it. It's not really measurable because it leverages processes in the operating system that are used anyway So the performance impact on top of that is really minimal.
So no reasons not to choose it.
Absolutely.
Actually, to be honest, I have never noticed any impact on the performance with ransomware protection enabled. I mean, it's probably there, but at least you don't recognize it.
Thank you for this answer. One more question is related to pricing. So this sounds pretty good here, but how much does this will really cost me? So how is the price calculated? What elements pay into the pricing?
Okay, so I mean, there are 3 companies involved. So I will start with Open Telecom Cloud because maybe people thinking about, hey, how much will this cost in the object storage? So that's really cheap. So we compared this for Azure, AWS, and Open Telecom Cloud, and the price is nearly the same for all these 3. So you pay around €5 per terabyte per month for the object storage, which means it's already backupped, and you pay this €5 per terabyte. That's really cheap, and usually you pay more for electricity when you do it on premise. And the price, yeah, it's a little bit cheaper with Open Telecom Cloud than with Azure or AWS. So AWS and Azure, it's, I would say, $550 per terabyte, and for Open Telecom Cloud, it's $480, $460, something like that. So pricing for the cloud storage doesn't matter. It's really cheap. That message I want to give you. For the Nasuni licensing, it depends on how many terabyte of data you're having, but if you have a very little environment, you pay around €500 per terabyte per year. That's important. And if you take more, it gets cheaper, obviously. And for epcon, it depends on which layer of managed service you want to have. So if you just want the proof of concept, yeah, that's less than a day of work usually. Depends on your environment as well. And for the integration too, and for managed service, it's also dependent on what you want to have and on what should we do and what we take the responsibility for. But you saw the management is really easy and really fast to do. So that's also not very expensive, to put it this way. It's hard to tell you any numbers for the managed service part. The licensing is easier to explain or to answer.
So you see, the answer is more or less, it depends. So it really depends on what your requirements are. So for this, just get in contact with us. You can put a question into the OTC community portal. Also, when you're interested in this solution, we will get you in contact with the correct contact person here. And yeah, so feel free to get in contact with us. And then I see one last question. So are there any bottlenecks regarding the bandwidth? So do you need to have a dedicated bandwidth as a minimum connection?
Yes. So the minimum is a 10 Mbit line. That's usually you have that already in a business perspective, but you don't need to have a 10 gigabit bandwidth line, for example. It's working nearly everywhere. I mean, you don't need to have a very good bandwidth to use Nasuni for this. I mean, the data centers from Open Telecom Cloud has a broad bandwidth, but for Nasuni you don't need anything special. What you have will work out. Let's say it this way, and you also have the opportunity in the Nasuni management console to define a quality of service, so you can ensure that it's not consuming your whole bandwidth.
There's also a little bit of a it depends component to the bandwidth question. So the more data you create per day at a location, your bandwidth needs to be able to transport that newly created data over into the object store at least once a day. So, but yeah, we cannot change physics, but other than that, we try to keep our requirements as low as possible.
Thank you for this answer. Then I would say thank you a lot for joining today's Open Telecom Cloud community webinar. Thank you a lot, Christoph. Thank you a lot, Wolfgang. And also thank you a lot, Jona, for having you here. and see all of you then in the next Open Telecom Cloud webinar, which will be announced as usually in our Open Telecom Cloud community portal. So thank you a lot and bye.
Thank you.
Thank you,
Bye.
guys.